Steve, back to the league after a week's break. I guess it's just sort of onwards and keep searching out for the points and the performances.
Yeah, it's nice when you have that little bit of a clear week. Last week was a bit of a disruptive week, and when you have a game on a Wednesday, sometimes it's really awkward trying to get your preparation time and marry that up with enough rest time without overloading them. So Wednesday games are always a little bit tricky. Normally in the Championship you have a game on a Wednesday. Sometimes you get an opportunity of having that game on Sunday, which gives you another day's prep. But yeah, that's last week was a funny old week. I haven't had too many of them here, but last week was a funny week. But this week's been all good so far, anyway.
And not having to spend any time on the coach, how much does that help? That actually you can spend that time on the training field.
Well, it always helps. I mean, I don't think it's the time on the coach. It's how many times that you've been on the coach this season that have been back to back to back to back. So, I suppose really we shouldn't moan about it because we've done all right. We've done all right even when we've been on the coach. But as I've said many times before, we do things properly here. My bosses allow me to do things properly. So planning and preparing for an away game, it's not really an issue. You just obviously have to travel in to do. But we plan and prepare, and I said they allow me to do this because there'll be certain clubs you can be at, and you won't be able to get not only a lovely bus to travel on and a great driver as well. As I've mentioned before, he's part of the team as well when we go away. We don't see him every day, but he's a huge part of the team, and I like that. I like everybody being in together, and we make that a bit of a trip when we are going away. So we look forward to seeing him again when we see him. It's a week on Saturday. We'll see him, but until then, it's been nice to have a couple of home games. Yeah.
And you obviously progressed in the FA Cup. The draws come out on Monday. What do you make of Stockport away?
Well, it's a difficult game, but I thought it was a good game for us. I think it's a good little marker, that one. So I don't mind that. I get on well with Dave and Clint Earl, who are there, so they're great guys. So I look forward to seeing them again. Stockport are a good team, lovely pitch. Good crowd. So yeah, I don't have any problems with that. Put it this way, it's not a banana skin one, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Braintree this weekend. What do you make of them?
Dangerous. Lots of good qualities they have. Plenty of flexibility in their lineup. So probably even when their lineup comes in on Saturday, we might not quite know how that's going to look until kick-off, and there's a fair bit of flexibility in it. We've prepared for both because we've had time with it. But yeah, they're not bad. Don't anyone be taking any notice of the league table or anything like that, because that is very, very dangerous. And that's what I've said to the players this week. Don't take any notice of the league table, not just of where we are, but obviously because of where they are. So every game is a tough game. I don't know at any level what's an easy game. You can still go and win a game and you can be clear by a few goals, but you don't get it easy. You've got to work for it, and we know that. And we'll finish off our prep for Saturday tomorrow.
And without looking at the league table, but looking at their recent results, they've won 2 out of the last 3. Does that suggest Braintree are improving as well?
Maybe. I always tend to look at obviously their last fixture. I mean, in the league, I didn't look at the cup game because I don't think that can give a true reflection. So you obviously look at their last game, and then I'll go back 4 or 5 games and I'll have another look at how they were doing then. So most teams will improve throughout the season. Most teams. It depends on their start and what have they done. That if you hit a bit of a wobbly patch, have you got enough credit in the bank, enough points on the board that you're still always there or thereabouts? You know, we've not just this one, but we won't look into the Ebbsfleet game, but we've got two, awkward games, dangerous games in the next in our next two. So they'll always get full respect, and as I've said before, we'll do that for every team. I will make sure of that.
And you say about most teams will improve. How do you keep your team improving? Because I guess that's your kind of challenge as a coach, isn't it?
There'll always be something, There'll always be something with me because I'm a perfectionist. By the way, just for clarity, I'm not perfect. Perfectionist is different. So I will be a perfectionist with everything we do. Every detail, I will want everything to be perfect. And we all know that life is not like that. And it gets even more complex when you've got 11 boys for it to be all perfect. And then you've got 11 boys against our 11 boys. So, I think there'll always be something.
A word on Christian Doidge, because he's been on the bench for some games, but he's still scored important goals for you. What does that say about his attitude and his professionalism, and probably the chats that you've had to have with him behind the scenes?
Yeah, first and foremost, he's a fantastic professional. I love him to death. It's not just about what went on this year. I had Christian, and so did a few of the other staff and a few of the other players in the trenches with us last year when everything was really, really tough. And I think he's a great guy. As I've said, I love him to death. I speak to him on a good level. He understands when he's not in the team. And that sometimes might not be on... When we've got that freshness about us now with our strikers, we haven't got to wait for him to have a bad game before we can leave him out. It's always nice to leave a striker out when he scored a goal or two, because he's always going to get back in. But you've got to manage them all, and you've got to keep them all hungry. I think with Christian, not only did he start that first 9 or 10 games on the spin, he also did 5 games in pre-season. So there's 14 before we even kick off. So sometimes that, and if you can get the other players up to speed and get a bit of rhythm, it's not anything that Christian hasn't done if he's in the team. And the same with any of the other guys. Sometimes when you've got that little bit of rhythm or that wave that you can ride, you ride it until the wave peters out, and then you regroup, and then you start your thinking process again about where the freshness is in the team. So it's always one of my pet hates when I'm leaving someone out, but if you are leaving someone out, it's always good to leave them out and them to agree with you as well, which was what he done when I done that. That's the mark of the man. He thought it was the right decision when I left him out. You don't get that very often from players. And that's sometimes because of how they feel. Because it doesn't matter what you do. When you go up and say to a player, you feeling all right? They're going to say, yeah. They're not going to say, well, no, I don't quite feel like it. But you'll know if you keep watching him. And he's just a great guy. Great guy, I love him.
And Charlie McCann, 2 assists last week. He scored some important goals at important times. What's changed in him that he is now making so many important contributions that are resulting in goals?
He's playing in a different position to last year. He was more of our axis, more of our quarterback, playing in a double 6 last year. So we had 2 sitters where we only have 1 sitter now. So that allows him to go forward a little bit more, because I think Adam May has been really, really good for us, really important to what we want to do and how we want to do it. And I think it's not just Charlie, it's probably the players around him a little bit as well that have helped Charlie. He'll be the first to tell you that anyway.
Sean Long, Teddy Jenks, Jordan Moore-Taylor, how are they progressing?
2 out of 3 of them are progressing quite well. So Jordan Moore-Taylor, Sean Long progressing well. Teddy's just a little bit behind them.
Would they have a chance, those two, for this weekend?
A chance.